Row 18, plot 20.
Horror movies come in all shapes and sizes. There's psychological horror, so-called elevated horror, creature features, zombie features, ghost stories, you get the point. While some movies rely on atmosphere and tone to create that creepy feeling of dread, other movies utilize jump scares to keep the audience on the edge of their seats. Here are 15 horror movies that are, at their core, jump scare movies, according to the website MovieWeb. The Exorcist, 1990, The Exorcist Part 3. The Exorcist 3 is arguably the much better sequel to the original film than The Heretic. It has a better story and more straightforward script. The mystery of the Gemini killer has an excellent pacing, and the transitions between the killer and the man hosting his soul are incredible. However, the movie relies heavily on a jump scare in its most poignant scene. Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, 2015. We could actually list any of the films in the series here, as the found footage genre relies too much on the illusion of something happening out on the screen to get a scare out of the audience. While the first movie kept things nice and simple, the most elaborate productions in the series begin to rely more on jump scares to make the experience more immersive. Hellfest 2018. Hellfest tells the stories of three young couples visiting a traveling carnival with many ghoulish rides full of labyrinths and mazes. What could go wrong in such a place, right? Well, it turns out a ton, as a masked killer begins hounding the six people and killing them one by one. Since the story's setting takes place in a horror-themed park, it makes sense for the movie to be filled with false positives working as jump scares to keep the audience enticed. Scream 3, 2000. Many people blame Scream 3 as the film that derailed the franchise for its extremely meta-commentary and lack of plotline. After the events of the first two movies, a third film in the Stab saga is being shot based on the circumstances of Scream 2. However, things get out of control when a masked copycat killer begins killing all cast members to try to get to Sidney Prescott. Dead Silence, 2007. Making a film about creepy puppets doesn't call for jump scares. These demonic-looking dolls can do the job by themselves. However, James Wan wouldn't let the audience off the hook so easily. In Dead Silence, a man named Jamie returns to his hometown of Raven's Fair after his wife dies unexpectedly, with him waiting to unravel the mystery of her passing. Jamie would discover the legend of Mary Shaw, a ventriloquist who was murdered in the town. Ghost Stories, 2017. Ghost Stories, an anthology-style horror movie from directors Jeremy Dyson and Andy Nyman, follows Philip Goodman, a professor who specializes in debunking physics and instances of supernatural phenomenon. He's given 3 cases to investigate, and as you might expect, things get weird. The Conjuring 2, 2016. James Wan's The Conjuring 2 contains more jump scares than any film in the connected Conjuring universe, coming in at 22 jolts over the course of its 135-minute running time. Wan's films have been criticized by some who find issues with his over-reliance on jarring jump scares, especially in his non-horror films like Aquaman, but the seasoned horror director knows how to use them. The Grudge, 2004. The Grudge, the American remake of the incredibly popular and terrifying Japanese film Ju-On, stars Sarah Michelle Gellar as a nurse living in Tokyo who is exposed to the Grudge, a supernatural curse that is born when someone dies in a state of extreme rage or sorrow. The curse claims and eventually kills its victims before moving on to the next unfortunate soul. Director Takashi manages to recapture the dread-soaked atmosphere and creepy imagery that made his Japanese original so popular. It, Chapter 1, 2017. Annie Machete's adaptation of Stephen King's seminal novel follows a group of bullied teens who band together to kill a terrifying, shape-shifting clown known as Pennywise, played by the incredibly unnerving Bill Skarsgård. The film features a handful of truly nightmarish sequences that linger long after the credits roll. At 23 jump scares, It, Chapter 1, really packs them in. Drag Me to Hell, 2009. After directing 3 Spider-Man films back-to-back, Sam Raimi took a break from the big-budget Hollywood action movies and returned to his horror roots with the uproarious and terrifying Drag Me to Hell. The movie stars Alison Lohman as Christine Brown, a lone officer who evicts an old woman who happens to be an ancient witch from her home and becomes the victim of a relentless supernatural curse. Insidious, 2004. Insidious, which follows a family trying to rescue their comatose son from a supernatural realm known as the Further, squeezes 24 total jump scares in its economic runtime. The imagery in this film is truly the stuff of nightmares, and James Wan manages to pull off not just one, but 2 jump scares that will go down as some of the best in horror movie history. The Beyond, 1981. Notorious Italian horror director Lucio Fulci gave the world one of his best films with the release of The Beyond in 1981, a film that was viewed generally unfavorably upon its initial release, but has developed a passionate and devout cult following in the years since. The Louisiana-set gothic horror movie follows Lisa, a young woman who inherits an old hotel which may or may not be a literal gateway to hell. Evil Dead 2, 1987. Sam Raimi will forever be remembered for his contribution to the horror genre with the Evil Dead franchise. While the famous director already makes an appearance on this list, one of his scariest movies, at least in regards to jump scares, also happens to be his best, and that's the classic Evil Dead 2. The Haunting in Connecticut 2, The Ghosts of Georgia, 2013. The Haunting in Connecticut 2, The Ghosts of Georgia, is a pretty standard haunted house movie. A family moves into an old home in Georgia, and mysterious occurrences begin to take over their lives. Though the film was never intended to be a sequel to The Haunting in Connecticut, hence the Georgia setting, the studio revamped the script to capitalize on the success of that film. The last movie on our list is Host from 2020. Rob Savage's surprise COVID hit Host was one of the first films released during the pandemic that was shot entirely remotely. The film follows a group of friends who hold a seance over Zoom and get picked off one by one by the demonic presence that they have inadvertently summoned. It's a simple premise told uniquely that takes full advantages of its limited resources and some very impressive results. That's the 15 horror movies that are at their core mostly jump scares, according to MovieWeb. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of any of the movies on this list. What other movies would you add to this list that are primarily jump scares? I'd like to see your comments down below. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more great videos. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Wow.